The mayor of Corpus Christi has been reprimanded and suspended from office. Area water reservoirs are on the rise. We'll take a look at water reservoirs in Corpus Christi and the Rio Grande Valley. And one author says that cities are the most important ecosystems for animals. This is South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Thank you for joining me on this Monday, August 10th. Corpus Christi Mayor Paulette Guajardo has been suspended and reprimanded after a controversial hearing that could have had her removed from office. A city council tribunal found Guajardo guilty on all 3 charges levied against her. She will be under a 30-day suspension from office upon findings by the council that she committed, quote, misconduct, malfeasance, incompetence, or inability or willful neglect of performance, unquote, related to a tax incentive agreement for development of a downtown hotel project. She was formally reprimanded for perjury during a deposition related to a lawsuit against the city over the agreement. She was also found guilty of breaking confidentiality of a Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Corporation meeting. Votes to remove the mayor from office for the charges did not pass. The verdict follows 4 days of removal proceedings over the past 2 weeks. Local, state, and federal investigations found no legal wrongdoing, but that is not needed in the city charter to have the mayor removed from office. Guajardo becomes the first mayor in Corpus Christi history to be suspended. It is not yet known when the suspension will begin. Lake Corpus Christi continues to swell from recent rainfall across the state. The Texas Water Development Board reports that the reservoir reached just over 90% capacity. That's a 30% increase in the past week and a 55% jump in the past month. Last week, the city downgraded from Stage 3 drought restrictions to Stage 2. Corpus Christi area reservoirs aren't the only ones on the up and up. Last week, the Brownsville Public Utilities Board implemented Drought Stage 1 status after combined levels of the Falcon and Amistad reservoirs improved to over 32%. The city was previously in Drought Stage 2 when the combined levels were at or below 25%. Under Drought Stage 1, residents are encouraged to reduce water use and follow outdoor irrigation guidelines. Landscaped areas should only be watered between midnight and 7 a.m. or from 7 p.m. to midnight, no more than twice a week. Customers are also encouraged to quickly repair any water leaks, use water-efficient irrigation techniques, and avoid any unnecessary water use. Utility board officials will continue to coordinate with local, state, and federal water agencies while monitoring reservoir conditions. The Rio Grande Valley Business Journal reports that Space Exploration Technologies Corp. Secured approval for a 33-acre heavy industrial development along Boca Chica Highway inside the city of Starbase. That's according to records obtained by the Business Journal through a Public Information Act request. It's not clear whether city officials communicated with property owners within 200 feet or made the information public. A copy of a letter from the city claims that they notified property owners of both the deal and a public hearing in May. It was published in the city's newspaper of record, but it does not appear in state-required public notice search engines nor any Cameron County newspapers. The Rio Grande Valley Business Journal is in partnership with KEDT. The city of Rockport announced last week that Ward 1 Councilmember Stephanie Rangel has resigned. Officials did not disclose the reason for her resignation. To fill the unexpired term, which expires in May of 2029, the city will hold a special election on November 3rd. City Council is scheduled to officially call the special election during its next regular meeting on Tuesday. Candidate applications can be submitted beginning Wednesday through August 20th. Texas ranchers have a new tool to help protect livestock from New World screwworm. Texas Public Radio's Yvette Benavides has more.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has authorized emergency use of a wound spray called Click Extra. The spray can help prevent screwworm infestations in cattle, sheep, goats, and other animals. It can also be used on some wildlife, including deer and elk. Click Extra does not kill screwworm larvae. Instead, it disrupts their development and keeps them from completing their life cycle. It's intended to prevent infestations around wounds, including injuries, wounds from giving birth, and those caused by procedures such as dehorning. The FDA says Click Extra is not approved for any specific use, but determined its potential benefits outweigh the risks during this emergency authorization. I'm Yvette Benavides in San Antonio.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller has a mix of frustration and praise for officials fighting the New World screwworm. Last Friday, he thanked the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for giving emergency approval to a topical wound spray to help protect livestock from the parasite. But Miller is frustrated that USDA officials have relied on an approach that hasn't been more effective.
I did share that scientific information with my Mexican counterparts. They were elated. They had been trying to develop a fly bait. This fly bait kills 80 to 95% of the flies.
Miller says estimates predict that releasing 500 to 700 million flies would prevent about 2,000 cases of New World screwworm. He says he tried to convince officials to use fly bait to keep the pests from reaching the U.S. border when they were first detected in southern Mexico.
Sterile flies are very ineffective. They haven't worked. We've been releasing 100 million a week for 19 months. That's 2 billion sterile flies. Yet we have more active screwworm cases today than the day we started. So that's insanity.
Miller says fly bait would be much more efficient than the expansion of the sterile fly program. Camp Mystic is asking a federal bankruptcy judge to protect members of the Eastland family from individual lawsuits over last year's deadly July 4th flood. The flood killed 25 campers, 2 counselors, and longtime camp director Dick Eastland. Texas Public Radio's Dan Katz has more.
Camp Mystic filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June, which automatically paused lawsuits against the camp itself. Now the camp wants the protection extended to members of the Eastland family who own and operate it, even though they have not personally filed for bankruptcy. The camp says keeping the cases together in bankruptcy court would make the process more orderly and help preserve about $6 million in liability insurance. Families of children killed in the flood have accused the camp and its operators of negligence. I'm Dan Katz reporting.
Animals are adapting to urban life in new ways. Cities are growing and wildlife is moving in right alongside people. Texas Public Radio's Tim Gutierrez explains why one author says cities may be among the most important ecosystems in the country.
This squirrel at Brackenridge Park in San Antonio is doing more than searching for its next meal. It is adapting to life in one of the country's fastest growing cities. As cities grow, wildlife is finding new ways to survive alongside people, according to author and scientist Dan Werb. Werb tells TPR's The Source that cities have become thriving habitats for wildlife, forcing scientists to rethink their understanding of urban ecosystems.
In many cases, cities and towns are actually more biodiverse than the areas that surround them. So there are a greater number of species living in urban areas compared to surrounding areas.
Werb examines how animals are adapting to major cities in his new book, Our Wild Familiars: How Animals Are Adapting to Cities and Reshaping the Natural World. Werb says animals are constantly adapting to city life. Coyotes, for instance, have become more active at night to avoid people. Raccoons can learn from one another how to open containers and find food in difficult places. Bats change their echolocation to overcome traffic noise. And pigeons have learned that staying close to people can offer them protection.
Pigeons have evolved behaviorally to be as close to humans as possible because they have understood that being close to humans is protective against other predators.
Werb acknowledges that some animals and birds can be a nuisance, but he says urban wildlife is here to stay. That means communities will have to find ways to reduce conflicts with wildlife while preserving habitat and designing cities that allow animals to move safely. Werb predicts the relationship between people and wildlife will become increasingly important.
So biologists are predicting that over the next few decades, there are going to be literally thousands of new animal species that are moving into cities and towns across North America.
For Werb, the message is simple. Cities aren't replacing nature, they're becoming one of its newest frontiers. And he says making room for wildlife could benefit the people who live in cities too.
There's something about interacting with animals and plants and nature that has been scientifically studied and shown to reduce cortisol levels, reduce stress.
So the next time you spot a raccoon, hear bats overhead, or watch pigeons gather downtown, remember, the city isn't just ours. Wildlife is learning how to make a home here too. I'm Tim Gutierrez in San Antonio.
And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.